Good morning. This is Jennifer Tebow, and today is Friday, May 17th. It's that freaky Friday. What's so freaky about Friday? Except for the fact that most people are really excited because you are getting to the finish line for your work week. And there's some people that their work week is 7 days a week. And so this may just represent a break moment or a different pace. But whatever it is Friday. And for me, it's about 5:52 a.m. You know how I love to broadcast in the a.m. and the wee hours when it's at all possible. So I found myself this morning up really early. I fell asleep on the games. I don't even know who won. I fell asleep on the NBA playoff games. So don't tell me. Oh, wait, you can't because this is one-sided. So I'll find out afterwards. But I woke up early and I was making comment to a few people about some ideas on how they can improve the overall quality of their service offerings for their small business. And so I thought, Eureka, that is a great topic for me to chat about on this great platform at Spreaker.com. So that is the topic. And of course, I call it seller meet buyer, buyer meet seller. The reason for that is it's got to become that black and white. There's a seller and there's a buyer. The seller, you need to know who they are. If you're a buyer, the seller's got to be able to clearly say, this is who I am. This is what I offer. Clearly, this is what you can buy. Just as if you went to a store, a grocery store, and bought something off the shelf. If you went there and everything on the shelves looked blurry and blob, you wouldn't buy anything, right? So the seller has to make their products very, very clear so that you can just pull it off the shelf. If you notice, Progressive Insurance has done a very good job of symbolizing their products in just that way, something you could just pull off the shelf, and it's a package up, ready to go thing that you can buy. That's what you need to be able to create as a seller. Make it easy for them to buy from you. Don't make it difficult. Don't say you can do the world when you can't necessarily. But sellers, you got to know who your buyer is. You are not going to sell to everybody. That's the truth. Not everybody can buy from you. Sure, everybody in the world might be eligible, might be a candidate, but let's be realistic about who your buyers are. So seller meet buyer, buyer meet seller is really about each one understanding who the other is. And really at the core of it is you got to know what the product or service that's going to be the exchange piece between the two, because sellers are trying to make money. Let's keep it real. It's Freaky Friday. You want to make money. So in order to do that, you have to be very clear on how that's going to happen. And the buyer wants to be very clear as to what they're getting for the money that they're giving you, because that's some of their hard-earned money. So seller meet buyer, buyer meet seller. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about, the first point, is clarifying what you do. It's so common for highly talented people to list everything that you can do. And you know what? I get it. I pride myself on being multi-talented. So I get that you could list a ton of things that you can do. But remember, if you are this multi-talented superstar that can do a lot, your buyers are coming to you because they can't do some of the things that you do. Okay? Right? They're less talented. I'm not trying to knock them, but they're buying from you because you can do something better, faster, whatever it is, something that they can't do. So if your buyer is less talented than you, then they may have a sense of this is unrealistic that one person could do so much, right? I mean, if I walk in the store, if I walk into a store and you tell me I can get my oil change, my pedicure, a root canal, liposuction, and I can make funeral arrangements for myself and pick a cemetery plot all under the same roof, I'm not walking into that store, okay? That's just freaky. That's not believable. I'm going to walk into the store to buy the product that they're good at selling, that they're good at finding. And so you have to be that personal store, which means to my multi-talented people that I love so much, you've got to hone in on what you're offering. I know you can do a lot, but let's figure out what you do the best, what you can clarify the best, what you can really make a product that a person could pull off the shelf and say, this is what I want. That's what you want to really, really focus on and narrow it down. Okay. Because you really can't do everything as well in the same level. Now, you might do everything relatively well, but there's going to be a few things for you that you do extraordinarily well. Now, your well might be better than everybody else, but every person has their own level of extraordinary. That's what I want you to focus on. That may not be what you end up on, but I want you to start focusing on those extraordinary products or services that you can offer to the buyers. That's going to be potentially where your sweet spot is as you march down this, path of figuring out what it is that you really sell people. Entrepreneurs sometimes do a very poor job of defining that, which then makes money come in slow. Go figure, right? So you want to figure out, what are you extraordinary at? Okay, and the other thing is, I gave some advice to someone early this morning via email, and I talked about narrowing the scope of services to remain attractive. Remember, when somebody's going to buy something, there's an attraction. There's a love affair that has to start, right? It's this unspoken, ooh, I like what that is, or I've got to have that again, or I have to have it for the first time I heard about it. There's this attraction piece that has to happen. So before they, buy from you, they have to be attracted to you. In order to be attractive, there's going to have to be some distinguishing things about your product or service that stand out. So you want to be able to clarify exactly what that is. If you have a website, prime example, if you have a website, go to your website right now and look at your products and services. Are they clear? Are they clear? If they're not, you've literally created a store that people walk into, but it's blurry. Everywhere where they see where you have a shelf for products and services, it's blurry. They don't know what you really have. You might have really pretty pictures. You might have a lot of great flash items, and it's a very well-developed, visually appealing website. That's nice, but that's the equivalent of a clean store when you walk in. The reality is people are going to buy a product off the shelf. That's why they're in your store. So you've got to make that product very clear. Give you a prime example, and I have a worksheet that I've developed that kind of helps people kind of work through that activity on their own. But when you look at your services, look at what they're called first and foremost. Whatever it is, most people name their services very generic things. And that is unfortunate, because generic things is like putting a gray, blurry filter over what you're offering. So buyers have a difficult time understanding what that is. When you give a general term, you get general money. Remember that. You give specific terms, you get specific money. It's funny how that works. So if you have a product that's got a very general name, then you want to brand it, okay? If it's a part of your name, make it the Tebow search method, or the Tebow public speaking preparation method. Whatever it is, you need to brand it. Why? Because if you're offering it, I don't want you to offer something I can get from anywhere else, because then I'll go somewhere else. I'll go somewhere else that is being more specific. I want to buy from you because I'm getting something I can't necessarily get from other people. So brand your service. So first you say, okay, what are the services I have listed? Just list them, right? And a good start, if you have it already on your website, just go on your website. Be like a buyer, like a secret shopper. Look at your own website and list, okay, here's all the services I list. This is what people see. And then you want to say, okay, now I need to make it more clear. So like in a table, I'm going to take that generic sounding service and brand it and give it a name. Okay. The next thing you want to do once you go through that activity is you want to identify who is going to benefit from that service. Again, this goes back to just because you can do a lot doesn't mean that you actually do it. So this helps you kind of get to that point, and it's going to separate the haves and the have-nots in your service. So who will benefit? What organization? What kind of organization? What kind of individual? This is you really starting to shape and mold the profile of your buyer. That's important because, again, just because everybody has the potential of buying from you, there's going to be a certain sweet spot, a segment of the population that will probably be your best market. So I want you to look at what your target market is out of the entire population. And that's by answering the question, who's going to benefit from that particular service? You might say, you know what, small businesses who have newer management teams, who maybe have recently gone through a merger or acquisition, just define it, right? Just define it, truly define it. Then the next thing, once you define it, is then you say, okay, so I've decided on this profile. Now I'm going to say who the potential buyers are. Really specific, right? Name them. Name the potential buyers based on who you just said would benefit from your product or service, right? Now, here's the rub. If you are having a difficult time coming up with the potential buyers, that's a clue. That means you don't know where to look to find the people that you want to give you money. That's kind of important, especially if you intend on staying in business and being successful. So if it's difficult for you to come up with those names, that's probably not a service you're ready to offer. Number one. But you've got to come up with specific names that fit the profile you just identified. Okay. And then the next step is you want to figure out what will they gain from buying that product. What is it? In measurable terms. Come up with numbers. Are they going to increase their retention in their organization by 15%? And know why you came up with that number, okay? Don't just start throwing things generically out there. You're going to back yourself into a corner in a conversation at some point. Will 28% of their deliverables be completed on time? Be very specific. Give tangible benefits as well as intangible benefits. Maybe employee satisfaction improves. Maybe, morale has improved. Start coming up with what those benefits are. The reason for that is, okay, so let's work backwards again. You have this generic service that you may have listed on your website, or there maybe is a part of your elevator pitch and your speech. So it's generic right now. And then you say, okay, well, really, I'm going to name it. It's going to be the Tebow service, whatever that service is, Tebow coaching practice, the Tebow coaching method, whatever it is. Then who will benefit? Right? So if you're having a hard time defining that, you almost could stop right now. You're not ready for that particular service. Come up with the potential buyers. If you're having a hard time with who they are, you probably can stop. That's not a service that you're ready to offer, that you're ready to really put on the shelf, right? And then what they gain. If you don't really know what they're going to gain, if you don't know, trust me, you will not be able to market it so that they know. It's about putting a clear product on the shelf. When you're in a circumstance where you want people to buy from you, there's a commerce, there's an exchange. Think about it like a store. You've got to when people walk into your store, if your shelves are empty or if your shelves are blurry, they will not buy from you. Ever walk into a store where it was just a mess? How much did you really buy from that messy store? Nothing really, right? That doesn't happen. So you've got to clean up the store, make it clear as people walk in, buy and walk out. Or they walk in, say, this is not what I need, and they walk out. And you don't waste your time trying to woo a buyer that's not going to buy from you. And you can start applying your time to the buyers who really will buy from you. That's why I say don't offer the world. It's not possible. And it's just not possible. You're going to spin your wheels quite a bit. You want to say, this is what I do. Band-Aid makers generally sell Band-Aids. That's what they do. They don't sell cocktails. They don't sell clothing. They sell Band-Aids. And they're very good at it. So when I need Band-Aids, I'm going to go get Band-Aids. They just figured out there's a segment of the population in a cycle that will buy their product. So they offer it accordingly. You've got to do this exact same thing with your own product or services. Services, I think sometimes it's very easy for people to put in generic terms for the seller. But just know buyers are conditioned to buy very clear things. That's what they're conditioned to do. They're not conditioned necessarily to see the world and see the future of what you say are the possibilities. Most people don't put their money on possibilities. They put their money on real products. So you've got to make that product or service, really all of it become a true product, something off the shelf that they can buy. Okay. And so when you go through this activity, what's going to happen is you're going to see those things that you're not ready to sell, take them off. Now, you may decide, you know what, I really want to work on this. This is something I really want to get to. And that's great. Then you work on it, but don't put it on the shelf for people to see. Privately work on it until that product or service is really ready for you to offer. Okay. The last point I want to make is about the idea of competition. And you all know I am a huge proponent of understanding the competition. One of my favorite phrases that I kind of made up is that the only one that wins in a rat race is the best rat. Be better than that, right? So I'll extend that to say you need to know what competition you're in. When you walk into a competition, right, an overall competition, it's got several different events, right? Think about track and field. Track and field has many, many events, cross country, short distance, relay races, all these things, right? Javelin, all these things. When you walk in the door, would it be better for you to just jump into any race because you can kind of do it all? Or wouldn't it be better to compete in the races that you're excellent in, where you have a better chance of winning? And that's what I think about when I think about an entrepreneur who can do a lot and that jumps into a race and tries to run every race. It's going to run you ragged, and the chances are that you're going to diminish the possibilities of you winning in any of the races. This is a win-lose. They made a purchase or they didn't. You've got to make it very clear what you're walking in the door to. If you're walking in the door just to go to a bunch of networking events and pass out cards, then most entrepreneurs do a great job of that, small business people. But if when you come back home and you want to put food on the table, it is very clear. Buy and sell. It's very, very clear, win or lose. So you've got to put yourself in the right competition. And in order to do that, you've got to know what you're selling clearly. Compete against the right people and don't compete against everything. You can't be in all of the races. So just a few things on my mind. You know how I am. And so I'm really, really thrilled again to be sharing some of these thoughts. I get these thoughts all the time. So you're just going to have to bear with me because I'm going to share quite a bit. And I hope that this is helpful to you. A Friday is a day where we get excited about the possibilities of a weekend. But don't let it be a weekend where you slow down on your own progress of, what do I want to do in life? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to share my experiences with? Friday should be this burst of energy, this reintroduction into the next couple of days. Even though you may not be physically in an office, it doesn't mean that your mind can't continue to work toward your goal. So this is not Freaky Friday. We're going to take the freaky out of Friday and say this is an exciting time where the seller understands the buyer understands the seller, and therefore a transaction is made where both sides are happy. I'm Jennifer Thibault. Thank you so much for listening. Again, today is Friday, May 17th, 2013. Enjoy the rest of your day.